welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today we are going to make sea salt spa bars. I've done these several times and I love them so much, and I think they're perfect in summertime. I do self-tanner on my legs and you need to exfoliate, and these sea salt bars have a very gentle exfoliating factor, but it also feels really soft, the lather, because you know water softeners use salt to soften the water, and it's just a beautiful combination. I think these are fabulous. So let's talk about the fragrance that I'm going to be using today. It's called Bora Bora from Be Scented, and I have on here None and Light Tan, but the reviews on these were really good, that it didn't act up in soap, it didn't speed up trace or rice or do anything, problematic like that. And it has 0.3% vanillin, and some of the reviews said it didn't even discolor the soap. But I'm going to go into this preparing for a little discoloration just because the vanillin is present a little. But anyway, there's the fragrance. Let me read you the scent notes. Ooh, this smells good. It is like summer in a bottle. So the scent notes are, it says a tantalizing blend of pineapple, acai berry, do you say acai or aca? Anyway, acai berry, mango, passion fruit, yuzu, green apple, and orchids. So it's got a little bit of a floral kind of base note, but I still think it's very unisex. It just smells juicy and beautiful. So sea salt bars, this is the salt that I'm going to be using today. It's a fine grind. I do like to use a very fine grind, whether I'm using Himalayan pink salt or sea salt. I think it just blends in better and it feels a little nicer on the skin. So there's the salt we're using. There's the fragrance. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do a color swirl. I probably will. And here is the mold I'm using today. These sunflowers, I just love these. I've used them so many times. And after I make the soap, I like to do a little mica painting and make the little sunflower seeds on there. I made you that. I made you some melt and pour. I've got to think about the design here. Am I going to do a swirl? Am I going to do the little seeds? I've got some decisions to make, but this is the mold, that's the salt and the fragrance we're using. I know that for sure. And I will share the recipe down below. And so let me get everything pulled together and let's come back and make some sea salt spa bars. So I'm just about ready to get all my ingredients going for this soap, and I decided I wanted to do a melt and pour brown into the seed portion here, and then we'll pour the cold process on top. And that'll make it last for a few washings. When I used to do the mica painting, dry painting after I unmolded, the mica would wash off after 1 or 2 uses. So this way it'll stick around a little longer, and I think it's going to look cute. These little seeds are very shallow. It's not going to take much, so I'm just going to melt a teeny bit in here. And the brown color I'm using today is, it's called Luster Brown Mica. It really isn't going to take much. This might even be too much. I'm just eyeballing it because, I don't know how much that little seed portion is going to actually hold, but just a teeny bit to fill each of the cavities. And I will use a little pipette to get it down in there and hopefully not bump this so it'll stay nice and stable. Let me go melt this and we'll be right back. All right, it's all melted. Let's add our colorant. And then I'll use my little pipette to get it down in here and hopefully stay within the lines, like coloring within the lines here. And it's not going to take much mica, just a little bit. Probably 1/8 of a teaspoon is what I have going on here. And it's just beautiful. I think it looks like the color of sunflower seeds. All right, it's time to make our lye water. And so the first thing I'm going to do is measure out the water that I need, and for the recipe I'm doing today, and I will share down in the description box, and I'll talk you through it as I make the soap. We're going to do a 20% super fat on this soap. So let's get into it. And I'm doing a 28% water volume. I like a steep water discount. That's how I roll. So I need 5 ounces of water, and this is just a good distilled water. All right, I've got my 5 ounces or 135 grams of cold water in here. And now I'm going to add a pinch of silk fibers. I love to add silk. I love how it feels in the soap, and it's just kind of a thing, and I have it, so I'm going to use it. This is an optional item. You can leave it out. You can add it. You could do corn silk, mulberry silk. I'm using Tussa silk fibers today, but so many options. And, you know, again, I love my additives. So just a teeny little pinch. Has no weight, but I think it adds a glossy, just luxuriousness to the soap. So I just pop it in there, and as I add the sodium hydroxide or the lye, it'll melt right in here, and so you can see it just floating on top. Let me tear out my scale, and to this I need 2.3 ounces or 66 grams of sodium hydroxide, which is lye. All right, and then we're just going to stir this until you don't feel any grit or any, you know, anything in the bottom till it's fully dissolved, and then you can walk away and let it cool. And we are back for the soap recipe. And like I said, a 20% super fat. And one of the reasons why we're doing that is because this has a 76% coconut oil. And that high coconut oil volume is to help with the lathering and the hardness. When you add salt to a bar, salt kills lather. And so to have a salt bar lather, you need a lot of coconut oil, and I've got a good amount of castor in here. And those things are gonna really help make a great lather with this. And the 20% super fat keeps this bar from being drying. It is now a very moisturizing, well, I don't wanna say moisturizing, it has a lot of moisture in the bar. It's not a drying bar when you do a 20% super fat. So let me get 13 ounces or 369 grams of coconut oil is the first ingredient. And the next ingredient is 1 ounce or 28 grams of cocoa butter. And this again is adding to the moisture in this bar. It makes it just, they feel so luscious on your skin. If you have never tried a salt bar, I hope you give this a try. It's just that good. Okay, the next ingredient is 1 ounce of shea butter, and that's 28 grams. And before we get to adding our castor oil, I'm going to go ahead and melt this down to give it a head start, and then we'll add our last ingredient, which is castor, and I'll be right back. And while I was melting down my oils, I went ahead and measured off 10 ounces of sea salt, which is what I need, or 284 grams, and we're going to set that off to the side. We don't add this until we get trace with our soap. So just letting you know. And the color we're going to be using today is from Rustic Essentials, and it's lemon sherbet mica, and look at that pretty yellow. Isn't that beautiful? So that's going to be the color going in here. Right now we have to add our castor. So I need 2 ounces or 57 grams of castor. And now it is additives time, and I am going to add my kaolin clay and my colloidal oats in here just because I love it. You know, me and my extras. And I'll add I'm shooting for about 1 teaspoon is what I'm eyeballing. And again, this is not very strict. You could add 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon of dry ingredients per pound of oils. So I'm going a little shy because we got salt coming in here. And again, I'll do about 1 teaspoon of the colloidal oats. We're going to get that mixed in, and I'm going to go ahead and add my beautiful color in here now because it's all going to be one color, and it just saves blending time if you mix it all in. And this is a baby spoon, so I'm adding probably about 1 teaspoon of mica in here. And the fragrance is already in here. And the Bora Bora, I looked up, the usage rate in soap is 7.4%, and I don't like to go over 5% if it's more than that. If it's less, I'll go less, but I did 5% fragrance in this recipe. So please look up the usage rate of whatever you're using, whether it's an essential oil or a fragrance oil. So it's already in here, and let's get this blended, and then we'll get to making soap next. All right, and here we are with the lye solution, and I did ice bath it. It is all cooled down, so let's get it in here. We're going to blend to a nice light trace, and then we'll mix our salt in. And you want a nice, you know, I'd say light to medium trace so that the salt suspends in the soap. You don't want it to just sink to the bottom. Oh, and we're going to have a fun color morph. Look at that. Wow. That yellow, oh my goodness, that is wild. I'm thinking it's going to bounce back. Let's hope. I mean, that's a beautiful color, but that is not the yellow I was shooting for. I bet it's going to bounce back. Only time will tell, though. Okay. I've got a nice light trace. I'm going to go ahead and get my salt blended in here. And the salt volume, this is about 40% of the total oils and lye weight. So about 40% volume in soap. You could go up to 50%. I don't like to go less than 40% though. And we'll talk about saturation and salt when I get done mixing. I don't want to talk over my blender. Are back. It's the next day. It's been about 24 hours since I made these, and look at the color bounced right back. And when I was figuring out how much I wanted to make, I forgot to add the salt volume in, so I got 2 extra soaps out of here that I didn't do the little seeds on, but they're just wonderful. And look at that beautiful, like just pale yellow color. I love it. So let's get this out and see how the little melt and pour seed portion came out. And I want to talk about salt soaps having a reputation for sweating and saturation levels. So this recipe, I did 40% salt per volume of the total. I add the liquid and the oils portion and take that total number and do 40% of that volume in salt. Up to 50 and 60% you can do. Ah, perfect. Look at that. Oh my word. That came out nice, and that mica won't rinse off after the first use. I love it, love it, love it. And these are about 4-ounce bars. So this recipe made 8 4-ounce bars after the cure. They're a little over 4 ounce right now, but all that being said, salt and saturation. If your soap is fully saturated with salt and then you add extra, I have never had an issue with sweating, and I live in a very humid climate here in Tennessee. So for instance, when you have a glass of water and you can mix salt in and it will dissolve, if you keep mixing salt, it will reach a point where all of the water molecules are holding the maximum amount of the salt, and it can't dissolve any more salt in there, and that is a saturated water. And so that is what you want to do in your soap. And I think 40% is the minimum. I'd go up to 60% of your volume. And that way, this soap is so saturated with salt that the salt is no longer going to draw water in. It's completely maxed out, and they're very dry, and I have never had a sweating issue. I hope that makes sense, and that's a super like simplistic description of what's going on. But if you saturate something so that it's so full, because salt will draw moisture in. So that's how I tackle moisture issues with salt bars, and it has not been an issue with my recipes. And I love how the melt and pour is coming out. These are so cute. All right, so after I get these out of the mold, I'll show you how I clean them up. They just have kind of a sharp edge, and I like these to be really comfortable in your hand. It's not a big deal. It's just something I like to do. I just clean the edges up a little bit, and then we'll talk about how I'm going to wrap and label these. And if you've seen any of my round soap videos, you know that I'm going to be using unbleached coffee filters. And they make the perfect, the round, basket type coffee filters. They just make the perfect soap wrapping. And so let me get these trimmed up here. All right, this is my box from Eco Soap Bank. It's the 10-pound donation box, and as soon as it's full, they send a shipping label and you ship it off to them. It's a fabulous place to donate your soap scraps, and I'll let you go. I'll leave a link down for Eco Soap Bank, and if you're interested, you can go look up and see what they do with all the soap scraps. And not just scraps and trimmings. If you have whole bars of failed batches, they'll take whole bar soap too. So here is my soap with a little kind of sharp edge on it, and I'm just simply going to go around. And salt soap is pretty dry and crumbly because it is so saturated with the salt, but it makes a beautiful smooth lather. And there, it just makes a little more smoother edge. Now, I did not flatten the tops of these. I don't mind if they have a little texture on them. I just think they're real comfortable in your hand with no sharp edges. You can see the sharp edge on there. And I wanted to talk about why I do cavity molds, which is what these are called. The little individual molds are called cavity molds for salt soap. You can make a loaf soap with a salt soap recipe, but you have to watch it like a hawk because it gets firm really, really fast. And then cutting, like these, you could not cut these. They would just crumble apart. These are rock hard. They are very hard soaps the next day. These ones I actually unmolded last night about 3 hours after pouring it in the mold because I was curious about the color morphing that was going on, and when I pulled them out, they were really pretty and kind of modelly colored, and I could see that the orange color was fading back to the yellow, but they were hard and ready to unmold after a couple of hours. And so that is something to note. If you are pouring your salt soap in a loaf mold and you want to cut it, you have to watch it and kind of test it. And as soon as it's firm, where you can unmold it and it's still kind of going through gel phase, you want to cut it. It makes beautiful bar soaps. I know a lot of soapers that prefer to do salt soap in bar form. And if you have the time and the patience to wait and keep an eye on it, I think it's fabulous. These make wonderful bar soaps. But I tend to get busy and I don't have the patience to sit around and eyeball it and pull it out just in time. So I think the cavity molds are a great option for that. If you poured a loaf of salt soap and forgot about it, it would be too hard to cut the next day. And that's kind of a bummer. So for me, this is the, I don't know, easy method or the cheater method to just go ahead and pour individual bars, and then I don't have to worry about the cut time. And I think they're adorable, aren't they? So look at that. So happy. And this fragrance smells really beautiful today at 5%. It is a good fragrance load, so no worries with that. A lot of recipes that I post here on YouTube down in the description box, I do not put my fragrance volume on there, and I do that on purpose. Number one is I really want, if you are a maker and learning how to make, it's really important for you to look up your own supplies and know the percentages of the fragrance that you're using. And that's the other thing. If I wrote down exactly what I was doing and you used a different fragrance that maybe had a lower usage rate, I wouldn't want that. So the amount of fragrance that you use depends on the usage rate for that. And if you don't know usage rates, I would encourage you to get your fragrances from a really reputable supplier like Brambleberry, Nature's Garden, Marouge Canada. There's so many out there. The Flaming Candle, just on and on. There's a lot of really good fragrance distributors, and they will have the percentages and the usage rates and everything. And so as a maker, it's really important for you to know how to calculate those things for the products that you're making, whether it's a lotion or a soap, a leave-on product, a rinse-off product. They each have different usage rates. So that's just something, you want to do your due diligence and know what you're doing. So here they are. They're all trimmed up. I'm going to go print some labels and we will come back and wrap these little beauties. Wrap one of these for you. And it's okay to wrap these before the cure if they're in paper because that's breathable and they can continue to cure in the wrapping. But typically I wait till after my soaps are cured before I wrap, just so they can, get lots of air circulation and finish their curing process. So let me go get a label printed and I'll be right back. We are back to wrap one of these little bars here. They're so cute. Here are the 2-inch, I used a craft paper, the labels. There is the number that I'm using, and I used their Maestro Label Designer template that they have and just filled in my information. All right, here are the labels, and they just have all the pertinent information on here, and because they're sticky, they are the tape that hold my wrapping together. So again, this is just unbleached natural coffee filter. You get these at the grocery store, super inexpensive and breathable. And so I'm gonna put this with, I think I'll do the flat side up, even though it's not really flat, but it's flatter. And we'll put the little pretty face down. And I just follow the little fluted edges here and sort of gather them up. And it's so easy and relatively quick. Gets the job done, and it looks adorable. And there is a wrapped bar. And you can kind of see how cute is that. But anyway, I think these are fabulous. And I think I want to do a lather test with one of these and show you how even with a heavy salt load with that coconut oil. So let's grab a bar and do a lather test. All right, what I've got here is just some warm water. And let's go ahead and give these a lather test. And this has been about 72 hours after making. So these are fully saponified, which is fabulous. They're safe to use, but I will still give these a full cure time. And it feels smooth. You know, I kind of build these in the beginning as exfoliating, but it is so gentle. It's not like some exfoliating soaps where like you put walnut hull powder or apricot seeds. Those are exfoliating, or pumice. This is much smoother than that. Oh, it feels really silky. It's a good feel. And this is such a hard bar. These are really long lasting also, just to let you know. So it's got kind of a dense foam to start with. I'm going to add a little water here and the bubbles. So it's not a super high lather, but it is a good lather, and the feel of it, it's just, there's nothing quite like a salt bar. If you've never tried one, I really encourage you to give it a try. Either purchase one if you're not a maker. If you are a maker, give the recipe a try, or find a good recipe that you like. I think you'll be impressed. They feel so good on your skin. But with the super fat, these will not be drying out on your skin at all. So I'm just crazy about these. I do hope you give it a try. And if you are a salt soap lover, let us know down below why you love salt soaps. I know I sure do, and I've told you a lot of reasons why here in this video. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.